I have come to Rochester Cathedral in search of inspiration. Make a robot. Hi, hello, welcome back. This is Dan. Remember me? Been away a while. I've got 3 found items here, which will be the chassis of this build, and I'm going to pretend like I don't already know which one I'm going to pick. It was always going to be the holster. Anyway, this little red thing I found in the kitchen in my sweet shop. I don't know how it got there. My daughter doesn't own any plastic guns. She is not a sheriff. She's not even a deputy. But I saw this thing and I thought, that's an interesting shape. And that's all you need. That little seed of an idea germinating in your brain. Like so much dementia.
Aliens have accidentally brought Earth's junk to life. You can pop the chain, dump the junk, and dig through the trash to build your own character. Choose from 3 power cores to light up your bots and get them moving. With 36 collectible characters, what will you build? Hex Bug Junk Bots. Each also...
That was an advert for Junk Bots, the short-lived collectible junk toy that it was available in the Poundland or the Pound Shop. And Bill Making Stuff, my brother pointed these things out to me, and these things are good. They're good for scratch building. Here's a big box full of bits from these junk bots. Now if you find any, buy them, because they won't be around for long. They'll be gone. They bombed. People did not like these things. Now I'm going to start this build with 3 sexy metallic thighs, and I'm going to make sure I pin these. So I'm going to drill some holes into the holster and into the legs and use a bit of wire to attach them, because these will be the hip joints of whatever it is I'm building. So they will be taking a lot of the weight. So I'm thinking ahead. So God, can you hear all those cars? This is one busy road and it's so hot I refuse to close the windows. Give that wire a little snippy snip. As per the usual, going to attach all the wires with super glue and baking powder. Or baking soda, bicarbonate of soda. That's it, bicarbonate. Goddamn cars! You probably can't hear these cars, but it's a goddamn thoroughfare out there. These are pearlescent embellishments that I purchased for £1 from the works. And I'm going to take out my granddad's saw and chop these mows in half. Now I have to hide these from my daughter because they're very enticing to a young child, shiny little sticker pearls. And if she wants them, she can buy her own. Get a job! Like the rest of us. And then I'm pretty sure that she'll start a YouTube channel and have many, many more subscribers than me in no time. After that pointless piece of stop motion animation, I have 3 legs to attach to the chassis, and it has the semblance of a sturdy looking robot. You piece of shit! This is the lid off of a laundry detergent bottle, I think. I only need half of it, so I'm going to chop it in half with my ninja skills. Now, is it a generalisation to assume that all ninjas are good with blades? As far as I know, there is no actual proof that they ever existed. So it's pretty much an open market. Fuck you, ninjas. Don't kill me. It's time to break out the hot glue gun. Now, I often leave my hot glue gun plugged in for about 5 minutes, wander off, do something else, and when I come back, there's always like a glue turd, is how I would describe it. A coil of hot glue that's just sitting on the table below the nozzle. And I'd never caught this thing being created before until now. Now, this is a lovely sheet of ethylene vinyl acetate copolymer foam, otherwise known as EVA foam, although it should be EVAC foam, shouldn't it? EVAC? Oh no, that's connotations, doesn't it? Like war and things. Well, whatever it is, I'm cutting it into strips and attaching it with hot glue to the back of the detergent lid there, which will from henceforth be known as the butt of the bot. Butt of the bot. Coming to all good bookshops this Christmas. It looks a little messy, but that's fine. We'll clean it all up later on. Next, back onto the legs. Now, usually I dread legs, but these legs are working out pretty well with the junk bot pieces. I've got 3 more here, and I'm going to attach them with rods because they'll be quite flimsy on their own. So I'm drilling holes with the pin vise. And we're going for a War of the Worlds tripod design here. So I'm going to use paintbrushes for this, plastic paintbrushes. I'm not going for wood because I want the end effect to look metallic, not wood, funnily enough. I did steal maybe all of these brushes from my daughter, but it's fine. I pay for everything. I pay for all of her stuff. So technically it's mine anyway. Drilling holes into the brushes to attach the rods to the knees and then to the rest of the body. And now, something I didn't consider when using these paintbrushes was just how flimsy this thing was going to be. I remedy it, kind of, eventually, is probably the best word to use. Eventually I remedy it, but you'll just have to hang around to the end to find out how. I turned 40 just a few days ago, and in some kind of midlife crisis fit, I purchased 1,000 earrings. And this thing here is the earring back. It's a conical one. I did buy a big set, so there are butterfly ones as well, which will come into play later on. I'm using this to cap off the brushes, give them a bit of detail. And here is a set of metal loops, differing sizes. I'll never run out of loops, I can tell you. This is for jewellery making, probably. I'm not quite at the midlife crisis stage of making my own jewellery and wearing beads and things like that. But a tasteful stud in one ear, I think I could pull that off. And that does remind me, if you would like to help me purchase a sports car for this midlife crisis, and there is a Patron available. Thank you. Oh, and additional, if you would like to help pay for some driving lessons, Patron. Thank you so much. I'm using a sheet of styrene here. Going to cut out some panels and attach them in random places, or seemingly random places, on the chassis. And look at this, all my fingers here pointing at all the panels because I didn't film me attaching them all. It's a sneaky little editor's trick. And it's getting to that stage that I enjoy. I'm starting to add some details now. So I found this little button that says cowbell on it. I don't know what it is. I'm assuming it would be from one of my daughter's toys. But I'm going to use this as some kind of valve on the side of this thing's head. And then the cherry on top is an actual valve looking thing from the Junk Bots, the toy that failed miserably but continues to pay off, for me at least. This is some kind of plastic coated wire, and I'm going to take you right out of the box now. We're going to use our imaginations and use this as wire. Sometimes a duck is a duck. Yeah. Now give us a little spin there, robot thing. Looking very nice. Now I perused the various charity shops near me and found this box set of, it's like a science thing, like make your own robot. But these kids are on TikTok and stuff these days. They don't want to build things. I found this wonderful set for £2.50. Anyway, it's full of lots of great bits. I'm only going to use a few today, but they're always going to be there in the bank. Unlike the £2.50, which is hopefully helping out a charity somewhere. I'm not sure which charity it was. Though that charity shop worker was looking awfully well fed. Mustn't make accusations, sorry. We are going to float ethereally over to the, I think that's the right word, over to the shelf here. I'm going to grab some plastic coated paper clips and some more earring backings, but this time we're going for the butterfly variety. Now we use the plastic coated paper clips because you can paint them, and using all of my strength I'm going to unfold this thing. We want to keep the straight lines because I'm making a conduit, so keep the straight lines but we want it bent. And then using the butterfly backings, I'm going to thread the paperclip wire through the butterfly backing, and got a lovely conduit. I have to say I'm incredibly proud of this conduit. So proud in fact that I'm struggling to focus through the tears of joy. Next we're going to take out the big old hole punch, looks like a cowboy spur, and make some bolts ready to attach to all the panels and whatnot. Now for this it's best to use some kind of card. I have a pure HMV card here. Complete your registration now to receive 10,000. I wonder if that still works. Here's a wholly original riveting montage. Now I want to take a quick moment to let you know just why this video is taking so long to come out. Here's a clip. Oh, and if you're thinking, that's not too bad, how about this? There are builders in this house selfishly making a beautiful kitchen. Just thought I'd let you know. Anyway, I sprayed this thing black. You know, I find it best not to name your clay because it makes this whole process a lot tougher. That was a lump of Super Sculpty medium that I just murdered for this project. Not only is this project a scratch build, it's also a sculpt. Now, those of you that didn't even look at the thumbnail, just immediately clicked, will be surprised by this. Surprise! And it was at this point I actually realised I don't have an oven to bake this clay. Yes, that really is our oven in the alleyway for any old demon child to skip around, and this is the kitchen, or what used to be the kitchen. Look at it. I've been living off microwave meals. I've never felt so unhealthy. This is the reason this video is not out in time for my birthday, which was the goal. Now that demon child, Beth Does, that you saw running around there, her mother kindly lent me her Ninja air fryer. And I have to say, Air frying is the way forward with sculpts. It bakes clay quickly, easily, dare I say perfectly. So the first thing I'm making here is a beak. For some reason I really felt like making a beak. Now I don't really know how this build is going to go. I'm kind of winging it. I kind of got a picture in my mind, but I'm going to sort of adapt and improvise. So I'm making a beak. I'm using this loop gouger that I just showed you to hollow it out. Once that's plenty hollow enough, bake it, and then take out the art shiv and carve the ridges of it so they're nice and flat and beak-like, and then scratch the absolute crap out of the top of the beak. You ever looked at like a parrot's beak? They really don't give a damn. Those things are beaten to hell. You'd think they'd be like teeth. You know, they'd take care of them. There's the top bit of beak with the bottom bit of beak that I did not show you being made. What's the point? You'd already seen the top bit. And next I'm going to attach it to the pear-shaped thing. And it's starting to look like something. Taking out the cavity stabber now, just to add a few sort of ridges and creases and wrinkles around the lips of this bird-looking thing. That's everybody has lines on their face, unless you don't, unless you are not 40 like I have just become, and I've suddenly got the urge to get pec implants. This is a big old brick of Cernit translucent clay. I love this stuff. I'm going to take a sort of medium-sized ball and divide it equally into 3 smaller balls that will be baked into 3 lovely little pearls. And I'm going to use these things to make eyes, eyeballs. Going to be doing my special eyeball technique. Now, of all the things I make, this is probably my most favourite thing to do. So I'm going to take out the pin vise and have a wide drill bit there. Depends on how big you want the iris, and drill into the balls just a few millimeters so there's a nice sort of pothole, I suppose. And later on I'll show you how the rest of the eyes are done, as these videos usually go. I'm going to linger on this shot a little bit longer than necessary. Not really sure why. Just to truly show you what it's supposed to look like, I suppose. I don't really. I'm grabbing at straws now. Anyway, I'm going to drill a tiny hole in the back of the eyeball to attach wire like this, and then jam those bits of wire into the to some pre-drilled holes on the sculpt. And then off camera, I added sort of fleshy stalks around the wire, so it's connected. So it's starting to look a bit like a cartoony alien of sorts. Next, going to cut myself 2 thicker pieces of wire to the same length, and then through sheer will, bend them with my mind. If you can't do this, practice on something small, like a hair. Move from a hair to a blade of grass. There may be some kind of thicker bit of grass, like a weed. You want to keep going thicker and, you know, stronger until you can reach wire, and then I suggest you stop, because it can become quite dangerous at that point. I'll tell you a little story. I was wandering around Asda, which is a shopping centre, supermarket in the UK, and inadvertently stared at an elderly woman's hip for too long, and bent her a titanium hip replacement by accident. She was in agony. The only plus side to this story is that there was no way they could pin it on me. Absolutely none. I mean, I bought my fish fingers and left. So while I was rambling on there, I made 2 little tiny arms using the translucent clay as claws, and covering the whole thing in Super Sculpey Bacon Bond to give it a bit of texture. I've also made a little tongue out of the translucent clay there. I do apologise, I do need to entertain myself as I do this voiceover, and hopefully in turn entertain you with these stories that are 100% true. 100% true. You can Google old lady bent hip and you'll see it, but you won't see me because I was gone like a flash, like the flash in the pan that my fish fingers were frying in. But seriously, you should really pop fish fingers in the oven. There's no need to add unnecessary grease to your food, especially at the age of 40. That was some 5-minute epoxy I was mixing in the shot glass there. I've used this to attach the sculpt to the scratch build element, and this thing is finally coming together a little bit. Now it's time to add a few more things just before we get to the painting. But before we do that, I want to quickly take a moment to thank the patrons. What are you doing there? Just weighing my tears. Gets boring. Hi, I'm at work in the sweet shop.
Do you solve jelly babies?
Off. Sorry. I'm at work and I haven't really had time to make any kind of fancy Patron video shout out thing. So I've got them written down here. This will have to do. We've got for the tippity top tier at the very top, Gemma Ingram, Benedict Miller, Country Fried Minis, Dave Birdsall, Damon Mitten Hands, Ed Trotz, Julian Soto, Miranda Stone, Rich Evans, Shite Hawk, Smokey, and Zoltan. Thank you very much to you tippity top tiers, and thank you very much to all of you other tiers as well, you in the do-gooders tier. Thank you very, very much to all of you, and thank you very much to all of you in the doers tier. I am surprised you're all hanging around. This video has been very delayed, lots of complications. I'm sure you've seen it in the video. No oven for one. Thank you very much. If you'd like to join Patreon and support me and help me keep making these videos, then the link is in the description. It might be there, might be there. Thanks. It's time to break out the cosplay. The fantastic flexible plastic. When baked is what it should say. So this stuff, the difference between this and Super Sculpey, for those of you that don't know, is that Super Sculpey, though holds detail better than cosplay in my opinion, is brittle when baked. Whereas cosplay doesn't hold as much detail because it's a bit softer, but it's flexible. So you got to weigh it up. I use different clays for different parts. And I'm using this cosplay to make tentacles, lots of tentacles to hang out at the bottom of this robot cyborg thing. It's a cyborg, I suppose. It's half organic, half mechanical, robotic. Yeah, cyborg. We'll call it a cyborg. Cyborg mutant! Remember when earlier I said that the paintbrush legs are not sturdy, really? Especially with the added weight of the clay. The things are starting to buckle. So I've had to make a base sooner than I wanted to. So I'm going to start with some MDF. Cut that into a lovely little square. And then I'm going to take some corkboard. This corkboard I found in the Wilco. It's for pinning things to, like memos and, you know, shopping lists. Or photographs of people that aren't special enough to be in frames. And I'm going to break it into pieces. It has a sticky backing, so I'm going to break it into pieces to make it look like broken concrete. That was incredibly satisfying. I hope it was for you also. I'm going to take the broken pieces and put them back together like a jigsaw, but onto the MDF piece. And I'm going to use wood glue, because there's already a sticky backing to this thing, but it's not strong enough. So we're going to wood glue it for that permanent fix. And then I'm going to take out my tiny gnome spear and start chipping holes in the cork. And then with tiny drilled holes, I can attach the cyborg, and its legs are fixed in place now. No more buckling, you. Stop it. Stop buckling, you weird thing. And once all that's in place, with a few extra bits of corkboard added for decoration, it's time for the painting. Now you lot love a bit of lore. Oh, you love lore. I've seen other YouTube videos. You go crazy for it. So I'm going to give you a bit of lore for this creature over the painting process. You can see what's going on. You don't need me to explain what's going on in the painting process here. So I'm going to give you a bit of backstory here for a creature that I'm going to name Polly. How original, I hear you say. Once upon a time there was a lady named Joan, a part-time dinner lady at the local elementary school, and she had suddenly become single. Her husband had run off to Bognor Regis with Flo, the assistant manager of the local Wilco store. She could get a job anywhere, there's literally hundreds of Wilcos across the country, so they were set. Joan hadn't handled it well, so she purchased herself a parrot that she called Polly because she had zero imagination, and it kept her company on those long, lonely nights. She was smitten, while Polly was absolutely indifferent. Polly had learned a few words in its time with Joan, like "Hello," "Goodbye," "Weak bladder," "Weak bladder." It liked to say that one a lot. "Weak bladder!" But this was just the start. Polly had learned a few words and phrases and had just had a taste of what it was like to be human and craved more and needed more. So one day while Joan was cleaning out Polly's cage, Polly escaped through an open window. Joan was absolutely distraught. I mean, some say she died of a broken heart just 3 weeks later. But Polly was free. That's the plus side. And on its travels, Polly came across a robotics warehouse and then fell into some toxic waste or something. There you go, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that bit of lore there for Polly. Oh, I've overrun a bit. I got a box of speed paints for my birthday off me mum, so I'm going to pop them in the rack. Lovely. Now, I wasn't too keen on the idea of these speed paints, but after using them, they're pretty bloody good, aren't they? I mean, I don't like the idea of just doing the Xenophil and then using this speed paint and then that'll be it, that's done. I like to use them to add a little bit of depth, like washes, I suppose, and also to add a bit of pink to the already green of the tentacles here. It's good for blending. Now, those of you that are regulars to the channel, you might notice that a lot of my previous builds have been either pink or very grimy metallic brown, pinks, purples, all pretty similar, reds, lots of reds. But I'm going quite colourful for this one. My goal for this Polly is imagine Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles type monster. Colourful, interesting, slightly animal-like. That's what I'm going for here. I want it to be nice and bright and almost comic book-like. Time to change it up. Not everything can be gore. Now for the beak, it was an undercoat of a light brown and then a dry brush of black to really sharpen the cracks and scratches in its beak. And that was a little montage of all the highlighted pieces, a bit of brass on some of the details there, the red valve, all the little details getting painted, the black cables for the conduit. This is some thin masking tape, painter's tape, I don't know what you want to call it. And I just wanted to have some kind of shape on the front of the chassis because it's quite big, it's like a big canvas there. So I'm masking off a little triangle, why the hell not? A little triangle pointing down as if to say, look, there's a mutant parrot down there. This is what happens, fellow crafters, when you chew your fingernails off. Jesus Christ. And as if that little off-white triangle wasn't enough, I'm going to paint in some kind of evil eye, like it was an afterthought. Almost like it was my afterthought. But I like it, I think it works. It's working with the colourful scheme at least. Now, don't ask me how Polly managed to paint this thing. I mean, it does have tentacles, but I doubt it has the motor control to paint an eye like this. I mean, this is by no means an intricate eye, but it was a parrot. And once the eye's done, we're on to the real eyes of this monster. Now remember the little divots we drilled into the translucent balls? Going to paint those with a dark yellow, and then paint again with a lighter yellow, leaving the edge around the iris. And then we're going to paint in a pupil, and I've gone for a goat-shaped pupil here that's kind of like a Magnum ice lolly stick on its side is the best way to describe it. To the UK viewers, I don't know if you have Magnums. Well, you have guns, the Magnum guns, but this is an ice lolly I'm talking about. I've made the eyes all bloodshot using some more of those speed paints around the edge and dabbing the excess away with a cotton bud. But that's not the end of the eyes. We've got one last thing to do to these eyes to really make them come to life. But before we do that, I'm going to return to the chassis and do something that I don't usually bother doing, because I'm quite passionate about this model. I quite like this one. It's probably my favourite. So I'm going to add in the highlights and lowlights of all the chips, all the chipped paint on the chassis. And I am glad I did. Look at that, looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. And this is before all the washes and things. But I will definitely be painting chips this way in future. I've just been incredibly lazy, honestly. So lazy and fat and old. Now the next step is to mix a black oil wash, black oil paint and white spirit or paint thinner, and slap that on and see how... Oh my god, what have I done? Jesus Christ. It's alright, you can wipe most of it away, and it always looks worse when it goes on. Anyway, I'm going to add some rust now. I've got this special Vallejo environmental rust stuff. Chuck that on the limbs, chuck that in a few other places, and then we're going to add a few other washes, other rust washes, etc. And then it's time to turn my focus to the base. Now, as far as my bases go, they've been a little lackluster in the past, but because I like this model so much, I'm putting a lot of effort into this base. And what I'm going for is a post-apocalyptic motorway type feel. So a broken up road. And a bit of a stencil there to have a white line down the middle. Once all the paint is dry, chuck a bit of dry, dusty, coloured pigment powder on there, especially in the cracks. And then going to take out my big tub of grass tufts that were kindly purchased for me by one of my patrons off my Amazon wishlist. Thank you very much. You know who you are. And going to pick the particularly dead looking one and shove those in the cracks. And then chef's kiss. Now you know when that bottle of UV resin comes out, we're coming to the end. UV resin 4th generation, easier and faster, 4 to 5 seconds each side, fully cured under 6 watts, crystal clear, no yellowing, the longer the brighter, hard rocky finish, no shrinkage. Unlike a 40-year-old. Plenty of shrinkage. Now I'm going to use a cocktail stick or a toothpick and just try and apply a blob of UV resin to the iris there. Try and get it to to mound up, to be spherical, to act like a lens. You want a pile of UV resin right there, and the second it's there you want to cook it so it doesn't move. Do this a couple of times if need be, but you need a big fat lens there. And then once that's done, cover the rest of the eye in a thin layer of UV resin as well as the tongue, and then I think that's it. It's pretty much done. Now I want to thank everybody for watching. Thank you for subscribing, comments, likes, all of that stuff. Thank you very much to my patrons, and a special thanks to those of you that purchased me birthday presents off my Amazon wishlist. It was very kind. Otherwise I would have received hardly anything. I'm quite a lonely, miserable old man. You know what, I'm not actually bothered about being 40. I just thought it would be a funny bit. Here's the showcase.